More video in the death, the killing of Mr. Tyre Nichols. Promises to come out. Memphis doing the thing they do where they tell you they're about to do something, then wait a long time to do it. Let's put the picture up full mass, remind you of this young soul who was killed by the criminal actions of the police. The city of Memphis will now release nearly 20 hours of footage, hopefully this afternoon, regarding the fatal beating of Tyre Nichols by MPD officers. Along with the new footage will be the charging document. Let's go to Jennifer Sink. Jennifer is the chief legal officer. She said Tuesday morning before the city council's public safety committee, the investigation has now been concluded. It is over, according to her. In total, 13 officers from the Memphis Police Department were investigated. 7 were fired. 3 were suspended and 2 had their internal charges dismissed. 1 officer retired, but the recommendation for that person was termination. The officer who retired submitted his retirement before the hearing was scheduled. Sink said the city cannot compel someone to come to work or a hearing unless they're employed by the city of Memphis. Although that officer was not officially fired, Sink said there will be a record that shows the charges brought against the officer, along with the course of action recommended for each of the violations. With the city's current pension system, an employee can retire even if they are facing disciplinary action and retain their pension. Sink said that Tennessee state law, which says a government employee's pension can be rescinded if convicted of a crime, is the only mechanism that the city has to revoke or rescind somebody's pension. The 5 former MPD officers, put them up: Justin Smith, Emmett Martin III, Desmond Mills Jr., Demetrius Haley, and Tadarius Bean were the ones initially fired and later charged for Nichols' death. While the 6th officer, Preston Hill, was also fired, he has not been criminally charged. That was the white guy that utilized the taser and said, "I hope they stomp his ass." According to Sink, all of the officers who struck Nichols were part of the first group of terminations and criminal charges. One other person who was suspended did, at the tail end, place hands on legs, but that was not a strike or an assault. That person received a suspension. All of the suspensions were without pay, and they will return to work after. Such a damn shame. Let's put up the other employees, people who were supposed to help. Additionally, 4 employees from the Memphis Fire Department were also charged. 2 of them are emergency medical techs, Robert Long and Jamichael Sandridge, along with Lieutenant Michelle Whitaker. They were fired on January 30th. 4th MFFD personnel received a suspension and remedial training. You see, they know training is not the problem. That is not the issue. Policy is not the problem. That is not the issue. It is a culture. Look at it. Everybody acted on the same accord here. All officers who were involved acted the same way, in allegiance to the next, rather than in allegiance to the community, in allegiance to their training, or in allegiance to the law. They acted in allegiance to the cop next to them. That is called occultic or gang-like behavior. And then those who are trained to render life-saving aid, how do they respond? They respond like the officer next to them and the officer next to that one. Once again, the same dynamic. You do not have a policy problem, you have a cultural problem. Now, here's why I know they're not authentic about actually solving this. They would like you to think they have now cut the cancer away, that they have found all of the wrongdoers in the department. Please keep in mind, these officers committed this killing in front of other people, in front of cameras. You don't think they knew where the city cameras were located? They did it right in front of one. And they do know where these cameras are located, because if they need to pull footage, they need to know that a camera is in that area. And so they contact the IT person. That person gives them the information. If they are willing to do this to a man in front of one of their own cameras, would you not conclude that they have somebody on the inside who's willing to wipe those records? My point is, it doesn't just stop with those you saw on camera. But since they're not solving that problem, you can be rest assured they're not serious about solving the actual real challenges. AB, thoughts here?
Yeah, there's a lot of issues with this. So first and foremost, I don't understand how the person who was holding down legs and stuff is not being accused of battery and assault if the victim was not supposed to be in custody in the first place, which is where the kidnapping charge came from. So I think that is very misleading and it's almost gaslighting. I think it's also unfortunate that the officer who retired, like the community, taxpayers are going to pay his salary, right? His retirement salary, which means this young man, the victim's parents, their tax dollars are going towards this former officer's salary after what they did, after their participation in this. I think that's wrong and that's a policy that really needs to be considered and looked at. And I also don't think it's enough that it's on his record that he's been accused of a crime, because plenty of people have been accused of a crime. It's not until the conviction happens that it actually matters. So I think it needs to be on record of him being convicted or at least being reprimanded for his potential participation or his or her potential participation in this crime, because a crime occurred. We watched it. We just don't know which one they're going to be found guilty of. The other part about it is, this narrative going around that the EMTs are saying they were prevented from rendering aid by the officers. That goes to show a deeper level, right? Because whether these officers prevented them or tried to prevent them from rendering aid to Mr. Nichols, as EMTs, that is your job, is to save lives. So there should have been nothing that those police officers could have done that prevented you from doing your job. This man should still be alive today, period, at the end of the day. There's no reason. I don't care how fast he was driving. I don't care that whether he ignored the lights when they first came on or not. He should still be alive today. He should still be alive today, period.
We're gonna bring you updates as they develop.